Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we're back with episode 9 today. The top 10 don'ts, things you don't want to do on the job. They're going to make the employer regret hiring you, okay? And that does happen, believe it or not. That's the real world. So I'm going to go over the things that probably you don't ever want to do. And some of us might need to actually think about some of these things before we go ahead and do it. Some of them are common things that you wouldn't think that we would do it. So here we are. This might go about 7 minutes like episode 8, but you want to write the things, write these down to make sure that you're not doing these when you were hired. You're working so hard to get this job. And again, the ultimate goal is to be that employee that the employer doesn't want to get rid of. So here are the top 10 don'ts, things you don't want to do. Number 1 is be late for work. Okay? And I'm not talking about an occasional emergency, things that come up, because that does happen. But you don't want to come consistently late to work, whether it's 2 or 3 minutes or 5 minutes. Please understand, the employer is paying you to be there. So it's your responsibility to get there on time. Number 2, you do not want to call off work frequently. When you accept that job and you told them how wonderful you were during the interview, and then the next thing you know, you're calling off work all the time, that's not going to look real good for you, and you don't want your employer to have to deal with that. It's not a good thing. Trust me, you're not going to look good if you are that person who calls off work all the time. I'm not talking occasionally when you get sick or something comes up and it's an emergency. It's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is just, hey, I want to hang out with my friends. I don't want to work. I hate work, and calling off. You don't want to be that person. Number 3, you don't want to stand around on the job. Okay? If you don't know what to do, find somebody who can help share with you something to do on the job. Like I talked about initiative. Don't stand around. Okay? If you stand around with your hands in your pocket or your arms folded, it does not look good for you. Okay? It just sends the wrong message. Okay? So don't do that. Number 4, if you are assigned a task, Mr. Zek, go stock those paper towels on in aisle 4, and there's 5 cases. Please have that done by 2 o'clock. If you are assigned a task, make sure you complete that task before it is your time to go. Or if it is your time to go, you're in the middle of it, you certainly want to make sure your supervisor knows that you've been working on that task. But if you can't complete it, complete it. It shows responsibility and reliability. And that is what you want. So complete the task assigned to you. Number 5, and this can get very difficult because work in some cases is a social place. And you are working with other people your age. You'll be working with adults. You'll be working with all types of people from all different types of backgrounds and experiences. Okay? My strong advice to you is to stay away from negative people on the job. Even if you work close with them, try to keep your social interaction very cordial, very polite. And if they're complaining, and trust me, you're going to meet that person that's going to complain about the job, about the boss, about your fellow coworkers. You don't want to be part of that. It's called workplace gossip. Stay clear of that. If you do that and you do this for the rest of your life, it's going to pay dividends for you. Don't get caught up in workplace gossip or negativity. Okay? You need to be a positive person. That's what's going to take you to the top. Okay? Negativity will not, it'll only bring you down. Speaking of negativity, number 6, don't ever, trust me, complain about the job, complain about people that you work with, complain about the boss. If you have some of those feelings, and some of those feelings are real, you don't do it at work. You go home. If you have a close friend you want to confide in, that's fine. But you don't want to be complaining while you're getting paid. Okay? It's not going to look good, and I've seen people lose their jobs because of it, and you don't want to be that person, so don't do that. Number 7, if you work in a place that requires a uniform, which many of the jobs that you're going to be applying for or attire will have some sort of uniform or business recognition attire. You are to always wear that. Don't come to work without your uniform. If you're supposed to wear a hat, you make sure you're wearing the hat. Okay? You don't want to do that. They'll send you right home. The employer will send you right home. And if you do it consistently, you could be written up or in some cases lose your job. So you want to make sure you're always prepared for that. So don't arrive without your uniform. Okay? Make sure it's, and if you need 2 or 3, ask about that, because if you're in fast food or you're working in a job where you might get dirty and your clothes are dirty and you work the next day, you want to have a couple extra shirts or uniforms to wear. Okay. Number 8, really important, and this you would think just young people, but it's everybody. If you're getting paid and somebody's paying you to work, you do not want to be caught on your cell phone during work, returning texts, surfing the internet, talking on the phone during your paid hours. You're not to be using your cell phone during recreationally while you're getting paid. Okay? And you'll know what that culture is like in your place of work. I will tell you, 7 out of 10 bosses or supervisors will not look at that as something good. It's not going to look good for you. So you want to do that. If you do need to make a call and it's an emergency, it's certainly reasonable to say, excuse me, Mr. Zek, may I please make a call? My mom needs, something like that, or I have to. That's totally acceptable. But to be on your phone while you're getting paid, you don't get paid to be social on the phone. So keep that in mind. I can't stress that enough. Okay, put that phone away and use it on your break. Number 9, this happens a lot with people, especially when they work in the food business. They like to assume that they have perks of eating for free and drinking for free and all of that types of things. And there are some perks in those businesses, but you don't want to, number one, assume that, okay, that you get a free soda or you get a French fries for free, or you can eat from the French fry bin and things like that. Don't assume that you're allowed to do that, because most of the time you can't do that because it's against the food code. You can't just pick food up and start eating it on the job. Okay, especially now in today's very careful society that we have. You don't assume those things are there. If you have a question about that, you can ask a coworker or your supervisor to get the straight story. So I've seen people just think that because they work there, they're entitled to free things and they can take them. Please understand that all of that stuff, it costs money for the employer. So please understand that. Okay, so don't assume that things are free. Okay? And number 10, and this will end, I'm almost at 8 minutes here. Don't ever argue with customers or angry customers or your fellow coworkers. If you feel as though your opinion's different, always be polite. And if you feel like you need to remove yourself from the situation, go get a supervisor to assist. But you don't want to argue, even if you know the customer's wrong. Remember the old cliche, customers always right, and that's because they're the ones spending the money, okay? And unless you're a business owner, okay, you won't truly appreciate that until the problem starts coming off your bottom line. So you want to make sure you're always polite to customers and don't ever argue with them, okay? I think if you don't do these 10 things, you're going to be good. And that is it. I'm going to close this one out. And we'll see you to close at episode 10 next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.